All right, good morning traders. TG Watkins here, and welcome to your morning review on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. And this is a pre-recorded. I'm going to be busy this morning, so I wanted to put this out for you guys. But it is the morning. We've got a few minutes after the open, so we do see what's going on a little bit of something moving. And yeah, so you guys will be seeing this on Facebook, YouTube, maybe Twitter or something like that. And hope you guys enjoy it. So if you have any questions about who I am or more of the services that I offer, the trading room, Moxie Indicator, anything else like that, you come over here to profitpilot.com, and then you can come over and click on services. And then I do write newsletters twice a week, so you guys can come check that out if you like. Alright, so let's dive into it. What I have been doing recently, since the market's been kind of slow and a lot of the names that I'm looking at are just slower, is I've been looking at the larger time frames for my tri-grid. So namely, we've got the weekly, the daily, and the hourly over here. And that's to kind of give you the bigger picture and see what's going on. If we look most recently, with the S&P, we've seen that when price pulls back, it's been coming down to the weekly 21. It's been finding some support back there in the past, and we've seen that as a pretty common thing. So going forward, been looking at that, trying to make sure that that is an area that stays support. If we start seeing that it's going to be breaking support, that could be an issue. Now, as of right now, it seems like a pretty slow morning. We've had a really big move going into the new year. And that was this move. I think it caught a lot of people short, and so that seemed like a giant short covering rally, mostly just because it went straight up, and then once it was done, it just stopped. So it's been going sideways for quite some time. One way I've been looking at that is you can see that price was getting too far away from the moving averages and just kind of putting some gaps between that, and so price can either correct with time or movement, and if it was going to be correcting with movement, we would have seen a move down to support, down to moving average support, or it's going to be correcting with time, and that's what we see here is price just going sideways like that to create a flag. Now, for now, what I'm looking at is I would say that this is bullish. We have price coming into the hourly 50, the Moxie indicator still above zero. We definitely have a squeeze since price has been going sideways for quite some time. And here on the daily chart, we do have the Moxie indicator, meaning that on this time frame, the momentum is still positive. Now, it's a little bit different when we get into some of the other indexes. If we look here at the NASDAQ, kind of zoom in here on a couple things. And as far as this one, we are still seeing generally the weekly 21 as being support, so right and through here. But its daily chart is a little bit worse off than the S&P. So we are seeing some relative weakness, I think, in the NASDAQ and what's going on there. Now, this could be a few things. It could be partially inflation, and so the Fed is going to be starting to increase interest rates to combat that. That could be putting some pressure on tech companies and companies that need to borrow a lot of money in order to keep moving, and so that could be some issues. But as we know, the NASDAQ and a lot of the indexes are being held up by just a handful of the mega cap tech stocks. So they should be doing well as far as cash flow and all that. If we look here, we did see price down, Moxie indicator up, and then the NASDAQ has done a little bit more of a correction with price movement as opposed to just time. And you can see that here in that price has been moving down into support. Now, what I was looking at is originally, let's see if it was the hourly 50 as support, but now it's looking like it's closer to the daily 50 as support, and we're going to have to see when that's going to come out and find some support. We definitely have squeezes on the daily chart and the weekly chart, so let's see if we can get this thing to resolve to the upside. Now with that, the Dow, maybe not the best indicator of what's going out there, it's only 30 stocks, but the Dow is more of the industrial, and we're seeing more strength there. So the Dow seems to be where strength is, where money's flowing into. It's what I've been talking to my subscribers actually for quite a few weeks at this point, is we're seeing more industrials, metals, mining, things that have been around for a while and make money and earn revenue and can maybe have a little bit better ability to handle inflation. That's kind of what we've been seeing. So in through here, coming into the weekly 50, the Dow is making new highs, so it's looking pretty good out there for the Dow. and then double bottom and positive divergence. And the Dow, to show you guys the difference between the S&P, the Nasdaq, and the Dow has actually bounced off of its hourly 50 and gone up, whereas the S&P has gone sideways, and whereas the Nasdaq has gone down. So take a look at that as your relative strengths and weaknesses. And then if we look at the IWM, and not much to report here. Obviously, it's been going sideways for 10 months. What do we do about this thing? Well, I'd say be cautious. The small caps are not the place to be. They've been bleeding off basically all of 2021. And we can see that there was a false breakout up here, and ever since that, it's really just been back down to the low of this Darvis box, if you want to call it that. And then so far we are up here at the underside of the daily 50. So it seems kind of problematic. The one thing I will point out is that before we had price over the daily 200 and we had price over the weekly 50. Now we have price underneath the weekly 50 and underneath the daily 50 and underneath the daily 200. So be careful about that. We'll have to see if it's going to be able to find any strength in through here. But right now this could just be a bounce from the lows into resistance, and we'll have to keep watching this and see if it's going to be rolling over and making things worse for the IWM. All right, then some of the other ones out there, if we go over to, let's say, BTC, Bitcoin, I have not been seeing much action here ever since it kind of moved down. Let's get this thing loaded. All right, so it is trying to find some support, and we could get a move up a little bit. We do have price here at the weekly 50, but that's it's not really doing much. And on the daily chart, we do see what I call the elf shoe. So basically a double bottom. There's the leg, the heel, the arch of the foot, the ball of the foot, and what we're trying to figure out, and we're just watching and waiting, is seeing if this retest the low area is going to work and actually get price to move up like this, or if this is going to be kind of resting in through here and actually fall lower. I'd like to think that price is going to be moving up because we have not been rejected by the underside of the daily 50 yet, and because here on the hourly chart we are seeing a trampoline move. So we're going to have to just wait and see if that thing is going to actually kick in. Just no confirmation yet. I'm seeing signals, seeing pressure, and seems like this double bottom's trying to hold, but nothing's actually kicked in gear yet. And so just being very cautious about that with the Bitcoin names. And if we go over here to Ethereum, I think it's mostly the same. I do think Ethereum looks better, and so maybe if they're going to be moving kind of in unison as they travel in packs and they bring their friends kind of thing, Ethereum is sitting on the weekly 21, which looks pretty good, and it's above its monthly 10 and all that kind of stuff. And you can see here on the daily chart also the elf shoe situation, the double bottom, and we're trying to see if we're going to get that elf toe for that the resolution to the upside for that double bottom. And then here on the hourly chart, you can see there's a double bottom, there's your positive divergence, and it seems like it's trying to hold, but we don't really have too many signs of signals. So if you guys want to be trading anything along these lines, you can try getting it here and seeing if that double bottom works, and if it does, great. And if it doesn't, then you probably need to step aside. Other names, Hive was one of the Bitcoin and Ethereum miners that I liked and was watching for a while. Had some pretty good moves up, but then kind of got careened with the rest of the Bitcoin market. There we go. There's the indicator on there. And then you can kind of see the same thing. I think they all look fairly similar. You can see that there's a elf shoe double bottom in through there. Not too much to comment here on the weekly other than it is right here at some weekly support. And then we're trying to see if this trampoline move is going to be working for the hourly chart. I believe Mara and Hut and a lot of the other Bitcoin miners more or less look the same. And kind of the comment I made earlier is, I would imagine that there should be a bounce somewhere in through here, mostly because price has not been rejected by the underside of the daily 50 yet. It has not done something like this. It just fell right through there. So it hasn't actually confirmed to the downside as far as testing resistance. Which maybe if we get a bounce, it could be a bounce up into resistance, and that could actually start something else. So we just don't really quite know yet. And I'm not in them right now, and just kind of letting all that dust settle. Now, as far as the metals and mines, some of the things I've been looking at, XME as a ticker we're finally starting to see some strength in. as far as a sector ETF. And you can see here price did basically bounce off of the weekly 50. It did actually trampoline move, had a squeeze. We're looking at the Moxie indicator was turning up compared to price going sideways. So we were seeing some strength in here, and in through here the Moxie indicator went, and then right here, and I mean it sure looks like it's wanting to break out. So the XME sector is looking pretty good. Go ahead and take a look at some names in that area. And then, we've been seeing some precious metals and silver and the gold miners. I've been seeing them trying to work out also. We've got a squeeze here, got a trampoline move here on the daily, and really it's this daily trampoline move that I'm hanging my hat on. That thing looks like it's pretty good, pretty strong. We've got it pretty good setup in through there. We even had an hourly trampoline move just the other day. So, it's going to be a little bit turbulent in through here, and it's going to be taking some twists and turns, but generally it looks to me like gold, silver, GTX, precious metals, they're trying to resolve to the upside. Some of the other things that I'm seeing as far as, say, defensive plays, we look at XLP. It's having a great time, isn't it? I mean, look at this thing finally starting to break out, and it did it off of a bounce off of the weekly 50 and right in through here, another little trampoline move, and then bounced right there off of the hourly 50. So XLP, the consumer staples, looking pretty good. Think Coca-Cola, think Pepsi. Even XLU, which is the utilities, and we've been seeing them start to get some strength now. For me, when I was looking through some of the utilities, I'm seeing a lot of energy type names, to energy / oil, stuff like that, to get them moving. There was an increase in volume here, and you can see that it's been doing pretty well. Now, the one thing with utilities we'll have to see, they tend to do an ebb and a flow. And right here, it's up here at a flow, and we need to see if it's going to ebb one more time before going up, or if it's actually going to hold in this area and keep moving up like that. Part of the way to see that, XOP, another area to be looking at, it seems to be catching some strength as well. Right in through here, weekly 50, and starting to get past that weekly 200. There were some nice patterns in through here. I had my Moxie Live session a couple hours yesterday with the subscribers and all the traders, and worked out pretty well. So I was showing them some real nice L-shoe patterns and trampoline moves here on the daily and hourly, which is what set us up into a nice trade on a leveraged ETF for that sector. Some of the other ones that we kind of came across, let's look at SOXX, which is the semis. They look like they're doing well, but they're hanging out for a minute. Maybe they're kind of catching their breath. And what we can see here is clearly they've broken out from a nice flag, basically bouncing off the weekly 50. And ever since it's been up here, just kind of hanging out sideways. I did like seeing that price bounced off of the daily 50, and right now, looks like price is doing another little flag on the hourly chart. So I guess give it a little bit more time. That daily 50 looks good. I mean, everything is in an uptrend. So just kind of waiting for them to go sideways into some support there. With that, we got the NVIDIAs. Let's kind of take a look at that. Mostly going sideways, but flagging hopefully into some support. Got Xilinx in that, doing the same thing, kind of looking very, very similar. And then we have AMD going sideways, trying to figure out where its support is. And then if we kind of sidestep one more time, we go into Microsoft. Now, Microsoft been hanging out also. Some of these things might not be doing too much right now, but they may not be falling apart either. If we look back at Microsoft and some of its history, well, the weekly 21 has been support, but boy, look how long it took for that thing to actually start getting going. Look how many times it bounced into the weekly 21. We could be in the same situation here as some names need to take a break. The daily Moxie indicator does look pretty weak. I'm just not seeing that this is finding much strength right now, and it could just use some sideways action. So be aware of those things, that things might be slowing down a little bit. And if you want some activity, we're going to have to find the names and the sectors that are actually moving pretty well. Beyond that, looking around at the metaverse, so to speak, if you look at the Meta ETF, it's been struggling too. NVIDIA is one of the biggest names in this ETF, and what I've been looking at, talking to the subscribers, is leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot, and then we'll have to see if that's going to elf toe, if this double bottom is going to work. Otherwise, this is going to be a resting place until price goes lower. So right in through here, we could see price was not being held up by the hourly 50 and just could not catch a bid. So now here we are back down at the double bottom. We will have to see if this positive divergence actually works. But right now, it's just Meta having a hard time, just going sideways. Again, the finding the strength out there has been a little challenging, and not in areas that I typically trade. We're seeing very industrial, real estate, you know, I guess things that people can put money in, kind of hide out. That seems to be where investors are going right now. And then now let's see, Roblox with Meta. You can see it's been struggling a bit too. Just can't quite catch any moving averages for strength. And then even Tesla. I think Tesla has been one of the few EVs doing well. And on its daily chart, this one kind of caught me by surprise because it just turned right around without actually giving any good signals. So I think this is something where Elon Musk said he finished selling enough stock to pay for taxes, and so talk about selling pressure there, and then it bounced right off the hourly 50. I'd love to see this thing kind of calm down a little bit, and if there's an opportunity or an entry to get in, maybe not before earnings. That might be an after earnings type play. But then we get over to Lucid, and Lucid is also just kind of hanging out, trying to figure out where it wants to get going. And if we look at these couple of time frames, we're trying to say, hey, is this thing going to be finding some support at the 21? Is this level going to hold? You know, are we actually seeing this divergence work out? So far, not yet. And we're just going to have to wait until these things start catching some bids. So, going to be pretty much wrapping it up there. It just seems as a very defensive, as I said, it's the Dow that is the strongest of all the indices. So kind of be careful where you're looking at. The things that were working before don't seem to be working quite as well now. There is some rotation going on. It does seem like it's a little bit of a rotation into industrials and some more safety. Maybe think dividend type stocks. And beyond that, go look around, try and figure out what's working for you, and make sure that you are in the right sectors, because it seems as though things are moving. All right, everybody. Well, thanks again for tuning in. And if you have any questions about me or who I am or what I'm out there doing, you can come over here to profitpilot.com. And thanks again for tuning in. You guys, welcome to the new year, and enjoy the rest of your week.